There are legends about his unpredictability and eccentricity. The adventures of a celebrity are discussed all over the world, and the press rewards him with terms like extravagant. Even ardent fans of the Hollywood star have not fully decided whether he is an unrecognizable genius or a so-so actor. And all because Nicolas Cage, one of the highest paid actors in Hollywood, came to the point that he was kicked out of the restaurant, mistaking him for a homeless man. How did he ruin his career and lose his wealth? What role does the actor like the most? Does he have a chance to return to the status of a star of the first magnitude? And why is our perception of him not true? Sit back and don't forget to click on the subscribe button so you don't miss our new videos. Biographer is with you. We're starting. Nicolas Coppola was born on January 7, 1964 in the California city of Long Beach in the suburbs of Los Angeles. His parents were professor of literature August Floyd Coppola and dancer and choreographer Joy Vogelsang. Nicolas was the youngest of 3 sons. Yes, that's right. The real surname of Nicolas is Coppola. He is the nephew of the famous director Francis Ford Coppola. That fact partly had a large impact on Cage's future life and his future attachment to cinema. He wanted to become an actor from an early age.
Well, when I was 6 years old, I used to watch the TV, and I used to wonder how those little guys, like me right there, how I got into the TV, how they were talking like you, and I tried to figure out ways of getting inside that TV set. So that was the first time I really wanted to be an actor.
His idol was actor James Dean as well as Bruce Lee. Inspired by the latter, Cage even studied martial arts for a while. Francis and Nicolas are not the only creative persons from the Coppola family, which is often called the clan. One of Nicolas's elder brothers also became an actor. The second chose the profession of a film director, and his grandfather, Carmine Coppola, was a famous composer. I think that a love of music came to me from my grandfather. I'm a big fan of both rock and classics. I like to listen to Bach at home, and when I'm driving in the car, Led Zeppelin or Tom Waits sound. Once, the boys began to bully Nicolas because of his famous surname. He did not run to the teachers or parents to complain. Instead, he changed into a leather jacket, put on dark glasses, and appeared before the bullies under the guise of Roy Richards, threatening to beat them. The trick was a great success, and since then, no one had picked on Nicolas anymore. The childhood of the future actor was darkened by the fact that his mother had serious mental problems. She was often treated in a psychiatric hospital and spent most of his childhood there. She was plagued with mental illness for most of my childhood. Nicolas and his 2 brothers were taken care of by their father. He also influenced the future star the most. It was August who introduced his son to the masterpieces of Italian and German cinematographers, kindled his love for cinema. In his interviews, Nicolas speaks very warmly about his father, considering him a man of principles and respecting his choice towards his favorite thing. Even if it meant a very modest financial life for the family, because they were made to live on a professor's salary. The films his father introduced him to affected his acting style, which would manifest itself years later. Some of it was downright terrifying, but it still got into my consciousness and came back in my work as I developed into a man. I was watching movies like The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari and Nosferatu, and Fellini's Juliet of the Spirits when I was like 5 years old. He had this little projector and he'd play it in the house and we'd all watch, and I'd have nightmares, just nightmares. But then I grew to love it. I said, okay, can I do that today? He recalled. When the boy was 12 years old, his parents divorced, but the sons kept warm relations with both mom and dad. There are 2 integral aspects. My father gave me an intellectual life, and my mother gave me an emotional life, and one goes well with the other and helps me a lot in acting. Nicolas attended Beverly Hills High School, which was famous for its graduates who have made a career in show business. He aspired to act from an early age, so he participated in school productions and also attended the School of Theater, Film, and Television at the University of California, Los Angeles. In high school, he often spent his summer holidays on acting courses in San Francisco. His father supported Nicolas throughout his studies and approved of his desire to become an actor. He never made his son go to school or go to college, and gave his son the opportunity to determine his own path. One day, when the future star did not get a role in one of the school plays, he decided to leave it. His father supported him here.
And my father said, it's okay. He told me he was very frustrated with the academic world and you'll probably do better if you go out and try to make it as an actor. And he was right. He remembered. It was the child's imagination that helped Nicholas cope with his mother's bouts of depression. He still believes that he suffered less from this than he could have.
When Nicholas was 15, he began to actively ask Uncle Francis to give him a role in a movie. One day, they were driving in a car and Nicholas asked to hold an audition for him. "Give me a screen test. I'll show you acting." There was just silence in the car. Nicholas did not give up. Without waiting for help from the famous uncle, he decided to drop out of high school to enroll in courses at the UCLA School of Theater, Film and Television. Francis Ford Coppola, James Dean, and many other cinema stars graduated from that institution at one time. The actor made his film debut in 1981. Then, Nicholas appeared in the TV series The Best of Times. After that, he got a cameo role in the comedy Fast Times at Ridgemont High. As it often happened with newcomers, most of the scenes with him were cut. That greatly undermined Nicholas's self-esteem. For a while, he worked as a popcorn seller at the Fairfax Theater, thinking that it was the only way to a film career. And then his famous uncle decided to help his nephew a little. He gave Nicholas a job reading lines with actors auditioning for Coppola's Rumblefish. As a result, Cage managed to prove himself and get a small role in that film.
What, you don't want to come? Fine, we don't
Hey,
need
Rusty
you.
James, you know I'm gonna be there, man. But you know what the motorcycle boys said about gang?
However, Nicholas wanted to break into the big cinema on his own. He chose the pseudonym Cage, avoiding associations with his family.
According to the actor, the decision to change his last name was very important for his career. Other aspiring actors really didn't like that there was a competitor with the surname Coppola among them. They often gathered at his trailer and quoted Apocalypse Now, which was very depressing for the future star.
It's a combination of Luke Cage from Marvel Comics, it was a character I liked, also named Power Man, and John Cage, the avant-garde composer. Speaks volumes about everything I've been up to ever since.
As a result, our hero appeared in his next film already under the surname Cage. It was Valley Girl of 1983. That time, he got not an episodic but the central role of punk rocker Randy, for which the actor received a fee of $5,000. That's not too bad for a beginner. The film received mostly positive reviews, and one might say launched Cage's career. The next works of the young actor were the melodrama Racing with the Moon and the drama Birdie, which received the Grand Prix of the Cannes Film Festival. Preparing for filming, Nicolas Cage demanded that he, like his hero, pull out 2 teeth without anesthesia. In the same year, he began dating actress Jenny Wright. They met at one of the auditions. The actress was only 2 years older than her lover, but Cage's friends kept joking about him. "Bro, why do you need this lady?" In early 1986, the couple announced their engagement. Even invitations were sent out, but a month before the ceremony, the guests received notifications by mail that the wedding would not happen. It was said that Jenny caught Nicholas cheating, but both have stayed silent to this day about the true reasons for their breakup. No matter how hard the actor tried not to use family ties, Francis Ford Coppola still influenced the development of his career by offering to act in his next projects. First, there was the gangster drama The Cotton Club in 1984. There, Nicholas's role wasn't again the leading one, but he still took the preparation very seriously. Cage smashed his own van into small pieces of iron while shouting and cursing wildly in order to get into character. The director called him a psycho, but it could be called the best compliment.
By the mid-80s, Cage had become one of the most promising young actors in Hollywood. And it was then that the first information about his diligent and non-standard preparation for roles appeared. Among them was weight loss by 33 pounds, refusal to remove bandages after the end of filming, and an unusual manner of acting. For this, he was known as an oddball at the Dream Factory. "I like to break shapes and try different things, but I don't think big studios are comfortable with that. I can only do this in independent films," he once admitted. Throughout the 80s and 90s, Nicholas constantly experimented with genres, and thanks to his originality and good looks, began to enjoy popularity among directors. He rarely did the obvious things, both when choosing roles and when playing them, which made him famous as one of the most controversial actors in Hollywood.
It was probably just then Francis Ford Coppola finally realized that his nephew could be a good actor. Therefore, in his film Peggy Sue Got Married in 1986, Cage got the main role.
Initially, Nicholas did not want to take on this role. He did not like the story at all, but the recognition of his uncle meant even more to Cage than the public and critics' approval. Therefore, he agreed, but only on one condition. His uncle would give carte blanche to depict his character, namely, he would allow him to speak in the voice of Woody Woodpecker. He really upset both the crew and co-star Kathleen Turner. The uncle continued to grumble, sometimes as if Nicholas did not know how to act at all.
Nevertheless, Cage brilliantly coped with his new role, playing in a duet with actress Kathleen Turner. Although, in the process of working on the picture, the uncle director once got angry at his nephew and almost fired him for persistently making his hero speak in some strange falsetto. But later, Coppola resigned himself and agreed that the unusual tone of voice successfully highlighted the character of the hero.
Hey, what's the fun of being a teenager if you can't dress weird?
It did not go over well. In fact, Ray Stark from TriStar flew up to fire me. And thankfully, Uncle went to bat and said, "Young Nicky's doing this." But needless to say, I never worked for them again after that, the actor recalled later.
A major breakthrough in his career can be considered the melodrama Moonstruck by Norman Jewison, which became one of the winners of the 1988 Oscars. Cage played a central role there, sharing the set with the brilliant Cher. By the way, Cage owes her his role. Initially, Cage's auditions did not impress the director, but Cher insisted that he should be given a chance and even threatened to leave the film if he didn't get it.
I made a movie called Peggy Sue Got Married. Cher had seen that movie, and she immediately said, "I saw Peggy Sue Got Married, and I thought your performance was like watching a 2-hour car accident or a train wreck." I was kind of amazed that she saw it that way, and also that she wanted to work with me as a result of seeing a 2-hour car accident, but that she wanted me to play Ronnie Camerari.
Cage said that during the shooting of one of the most emotional scenes, he was inspired by Fritz Lang's iconic Metropolis, namely the moment when the doctor took the glove off the metal hand. In that way, Cage wanted to add a touch of German expressionism to the film.
I lost my hand! I lost my bride! Johnny has his hand! Johnny has his bride!
In the same year, 1987, Cage played the role of a recidivist thief in the Coen brothers' crime comedy Raising Arizona. It was the first film by the famous directors shot in their signature genre, low comedy. Getting the role from the Coen brothers turned out to be a difficult task.
I must have auditioned for that movie about 20 times. Joel and Ethan, they would laugh every time. But then they would say during the audition, "We're laughing, we can't stop laughing, but we don't know why we're laughing." So there was a little bit of trepidation.
The relationship between Nicolas Cage and the Coens was respectful, but very emotional. Cage often offered the Coen brothers ideas that they ignored. Joel and Ethan have a very strong vision, and I've learned how difficult it is to accept another artist's vision. They have an autocratic nature. Nevertheless, the atmosphere on the set was friendly. Super 8 feeling. It was how Cage described working on the film. That phrase meant that the pleasure the actor received from filming could be compared to the moments when his brothers and he had made films with a Super 8 camera given by their father as a child. That was the moment when filming took place solely for the love of cinema. It wasn't for money or recognition, but simply because you were crazy about the story and the filming process. Remarkably, film critics did not initially enjoy the film as much as its creators. Only over time, their opinion began to change dramatically. At the moment, Raising Arizona is firmly among the classic comedies of the 1980s. The American Film Institute gave the Coens film the 31st place in the list of the best American comedies. In 1988, the film Vampire's Kiss was released, where Cage's fee was already $40,000. The film told the story of a literary agent who fell in love with a vampire. The picture failed at the box office, but later became a cult and gave us one of the most famous memes.
I couldn't think of a more horrible job if I wanted to. And you have to do it.
Later, Cage starred in the Italian military drama Time to Kill in 1989, and in a year, he got a role in the action movie Firebirds, where his partners were Tommy Lee Jones and Sean Young. That picture also received a bad rating. It was perceived as a secondary work based on the successful film Top Gun with Tom Cruise. After that, Cage was more lucky, and he, along with actress Laura Dern, played the main role in David Lynch's melodrama Wild at Heart. The director himself wrote the music for the film, and Nicolas sang the song. That film was awarded the main prize, Palme d'Or, at the Cannes Film Festival, and Cage's work was highly appreciated, although he did not receive prizes for it. Nicolas did not forget about his personal life either. Back in '88, the actor began to be noticed with actress Christina Fulton. In December of 1990, the couple had a son, Weston. After becoming a mother, Christina started demanding Nicolas be at home more often, but he, being busy with his career, could not physically do it.
The actor had his own ideas about this. During this period, he completely despised the idea of stability. "I was a punk rocker. I was rebelling. I don't want any kind of comfort at home."
As a result, they broke up. Cage, in addition to basic alimony, paid his son and ex-wife $3 million a year. But the actress thought it was not enough. One day, she sued her former lover, demanding also to give her possession of the house that Cage bought when Weston was born. The court, taking into account the huge alimony, did not satisfy the wishes of the actress. The actors decided to keep the illusion of a good relationship for their son.
In 1990, Cage continued to surprise his fans with unusual behavior. He appeared on The Terry Wogan Show going on stage with a backflip, demonstrated karate, and throwing banknotes at the audience.
The next few years were fruitful for the actor by the number of roles in films, but generally were unsuccessful by the box office and public recognition. In 1991, the erotic thriller Zandali was released, which received mostly negative critics' reviews. And a year later, the romantic comedy Honeymoon in Vegas with Sarah Jessica Parker was released. Neo-noir thriller Red Rock West received quite positive reviews. It toured the USA for a while as an art house hit.
Holy shit, you weren't in that building they hit, were you? Oh, damn. You're one lucky son of a bitch.
I know.
The following film, Amos and Andrew, where Cage played a duet with Samuel L. Jackson, failed at the box office. After that, there was the extremely unsuccessful Deadfall, directed by Nicolas's brother, Christopher Coppola, guarding Tess, It Could Happen to You, Trapped in Paradise, and Kiss of Death. In 1992, Cage met model Kristen Zhang at one of the social events. The relationship between the two stars lasted for 2 years. It was like a fairy tale. Nicolas proposed to Kristen in a chic restaurant and knelt in front of the public. And everything would have been great if, shortly before the wedding, Cage had not met his longtime beloved actress Patricia Arquette. The story of Cage's matchmaking to Arquette has long become a legend. They met back in 1987. Cage fell in love with her so much that he made a marriage proposal 5 hours after the first meeting. The girl thought that the actor was joking and gave him a whole list of what he would need to do to become her husband. For example, to get a black orchid and an autograph of the writer Salinger, who, as you know, lived as a recluse and did not let anyone come near himself. When Cage did all the actress's wishes, she was afraid of such pressure and asked him to not bother her anymore. 8 years later, when Nicolas was just getting ready for his wedding with Zhang, she suddenly called him and asked if he still wanted to marry her. The actor told Zhang that he decided to break up with her by phone. So in 1995, their wedding took place. The marriage would last as long as 6 years, although it was claimed that it was official info, but in fact the couple lived together for only 9 months. 1995 was also significant for Cage's acting career. Cage was lucky enough to get the main role of an unhappy alcoholic who fell in love with a call girl in a romantic drama Leaving Las Vegas. The actor continued the tradition of careful preparation for the role. He reviewed all the cult films about alcoholics and borrowed something from each character. In addition, Cage had been drinking in Dublin for 2 weeks and asked a friend to record him on video to study how he behaved in a state of drunkenness. The actor also visited hospitalized alcoholics. He said, "It was one of the most enjoyable pieces of research I've ever had to do for a part." Cage didn't stop there and hired the poet Tony Dingham, who was drinking heavily at the time. Tony often said brilliant drunken aphorisms during that time, and Cage later used it in the film.
God, he'd be curled up in a fetal position in my trailer as I'm playing bongos, because I was trying to play bongos to get some kind of syncopated rhythm, some sort of music for the character.
Cage shot there with full confidence that no one would need that movie with a small budget and he wouldn't see an Oscar. And in that case, the actor just decided to wig out. He decided to act for pleasure without thinking about the consequences. He was trying to get out of control in front of the camera in order to give maximum credibility and realism. The Golden Globe and Oscar statuettes were a real surprise for Cage. Despite the modest expectations of the creators, the film got excellent reviews and was warmly received by the audience. Leaving Las Vegas is still in the tops of the best films of Nicolas Cage. And what roles of the actor do you like the most? Write it in the comments. The crime thriller Kiss of Death, released in the same year, did not have much success, but many critics highlighted Cage's acting. Kenneth Turan of the Los Angeles Times called Cage one of the few American actors who are becoming more and more interesting from film to film. The Washington Post wrote that Cage dominates the camera, stealing scenes by the sheer intensity of the inimitable strangeness and makes the film worth seeing. Cage himself says he doesn't have a specific style of acting. It's almost like a mixed martial art. It can be whatever you want it to be. You can create your Jeet Kune Do with acting. Don't get trapped in a style. Don't get trapped in naturalism and be open to your dreams. Your imagination is your most important tool, and there are ways to augment your imagination. Healthy ways to augment your imagination so that you're not necessarily doing, you're being. Dreams. Dreams are important. The next film with Cage was included in the top 100 best action movies of all time, and also became the only Michael Bay film to receive a fresh rating on Rotten Tomatoes. It's about The Rock, in which Cage was on the set with Sean Connery. During the filming, the actors actually lived in prison. Drinking water and food were regularly brought to them from the mainland. Shooting was complicated by the changeable weather, because of which the whole team had to stop working. Cage later said that his main task was to show a new type of the dynamic action character. The actor claimed that his character in the original script was weakly written and it was completely uninteresting to act him. I think only two types of American films are successful all over the world: action films and comedies. But the genre of the action movie clearly goes bad. People are tired of steroid heroes with small heads. I wanted to offer them such a hero, which has not been seen yet. As a result, Michael Bay, along with some screenwriters, thoroughly rewrote the original script and gave Cage total freedom of creation of the character. According to rumors, Sean Connery agreed to star in the film only after Nicolas Cage got one of the roles. Their tandem got positive reviews from the audience, and the actors received the MTV Movie Award as the Best Duo. A year later, another action movie with Cage's participation was released. It was Con Air, where John Cusack and John Malkovich were in Cage's company.
I don't know you.
You know what, Al? What do you think that means? Nothing.
Although the cast and battle scenes were highly rated, generally the film received very restrained feedback from critics. Moreover, Con Air got the Golden Raspberry Anti Award. Con Air and The Rock enabled the actor to take hold in the role, which in following years became one of his favorites. It was the type of ordinary person who got into extreme situations and was forced to show remarkable resourcefulness, ingenuity, and often physical endurance. In the same year, viewers were able to see another remarkable action movie with Cage, Face Off. There, his character was a criminal. By the will of fate, he changed faces with John Travolta's character, a policeman. Initially, Nicolas Cage turned down the role as he did not want to play a villain. However, when the actor was told that he would actually play a positive character for most of the film, he immediately agreed. Cage and Travolta spent 2 weeks together before filming to learn how to act like each other. They decided on the specific gestures and manner of speech of each character that could be imitated. Cage considered this role his favorite.
These roles showed the actor as a diverse and talented professional, made him one of the highest-paid Hollywood stars, and provided him with the role of a guarantor of success of any project. That was followed by Cage's successful but less high-profile film works. There was the touching City of Angels with Meg Ryan. Martin Scorsese's Bringing Out the Dead failed at the box office but received good reviews. The detective thriller 8mm with the impressive box office, and Snake Eyes, for which Cage was paid a record $16 million.
And at that time, a film about one of the most famous superheroes could appear in his filmography, but it did not work out. In the mid-90s, Warner Brothers decided to make a film about Superman for the 60th anniversary where Cage would play the main role, and Tim Burton would sit in the director's chair. While Cage, who is a big fan of Superman, happily tried on the costume, the script was repeatedly rewritten. Hollywood legends stated that there was as many as 9 revisions, and some of which were frankly delusional. At some point, the producers realized that, firstly, they did not have enough time to meet the anniversary, and secondly, the budget of the film was much higher than originally planned. As a result, the project was shut down. Cage received a generous $20 million penalty as a consolation. In general, Nicolas Cage is famous for his love of superheroes. My passion for comics came from childhood when I read comic books every day, and it was from then on that I learned to read it all. When Martin Scorsese, followed by Francis Ford Coppola, criticized movie comics in 2019, Nicolas defended superheroes. What could be wrong with wholesome entertainment that is appealing to parents and children and gives people something to look forward to? I don't see what the issue is. Over the years, Nicolas had collected 400 vintage editions. There was the extremely rare Action Comics #1 of 1938 among them, in which Superman debuted. Unfortunately, in 2000, that edition, along with 2 others, were stolen. Nick, we understand you. Currently, about 50 to 100 copies of this edition are known to exist. Later, the actor sold his entire collection at auction for $1.6 million. In 2007, Nicolas, along with his son Weston, drew his own comic book, which was published by Virgin Comics. In addition, the actor has tattoos of Ghost Rider on his left arm, which is very symbolic. One of the best films in the actor's filmography is the thriller Gone in 60 Seconds of 2000. Its budget was $90 million, 20 of which went to Cage's fee.
You're still looking amazing.
Well, you look like a Bible salesman.
The actor studied at a stunt driving school in preparation for filming and performed most of the stunt driving himself. After finishing the project, racing cars became his hobby. On the set, Cage became very friendly with Angelina Jolie. Their screen duet turned out to be so bright that later the tabloids attributed the romance to the actors for a long time. His next work is also very catchy. Cage played the role of a cruel workaholic who was slowly realizing the value of family and love in the melodrama The Family Man. And although from the critics' point of view it was a typical and predictable Christmas story, the audience loved that movie. As you can see, Cage likes to experiment with genres without stopping at one thing. I really work with the same interest on movies of different genres. An entertainment cinema can distract a person from his problems for an hour and a half, and an intellectual one makes him think. In any case, the actor did not work in vain, did he? In the early 2000s, Nicolas Cage was one of the wealthiest actors in America. As an Oscar winner and a top-level movie star, he received very high fees for his work, which, with his creative aptitude, added up to more than a fair amount. But Cage had never been fixated on saving money. He has a reputation as one of Hollywood's most generous philanthropists. In particular, he donated $2 million to Amnesty International to help children affected by military conflicts around the world, $1 million to help victims of Hurricane Katrina, and also supported many other charitable and educational programs for which he was honored with a humanitarian award from the United Nations. In 2001, 3 projects were released with Cage's participation, and all of them were unsuccessful. There was the miserably failed melodrama Captain Corelli's Mandolin, then the first voiceover of a cartoon in his career, and an expressionless Christmas Carol the movie, and the cliched Wind Talkers. Soon, Cage managed to salvage the situation with the tragic comedy Adaptation with Meryl Streep and Chris Cooper. In the movie, he played the double role of twin brothers. During the filming, the actor had to wear a fat suit to look plump, but the result was worth it.
It was probably the most acrobatic challenge as a thespian I've ever had, and I'm not even sure I could do it again.
The eccentric movie got many awards and nominations at various film festivals. In particular, Cage received another Oscar and Golden Globe nomination for his role. Next, Nicolas tried himself as a director and producer in the movie Sunny, where James Franco got the main role. In parallel with that, serious passions were running high in his personal life. In 2001, the actor met Lisa Marie Presley. A year later, they got married. Family life was tempestuous. The couple constantly had scandals. According to rumors, once the couple had a big quarrel standing on the bridge and Lisa shouted that everything was over between them. Then Cage pulled off her wedding ring for $65,000 and threw it in the water. On the same day, they made up and hired a diver, but it was very deep and the ring couldn't be found. 2 days later, Nicolas presented his wife with a new ring, even larger and more expensive than the previous one. The cost of the ring, however, did not strengthen the relationship in any way. Their marriage lasted only 109 days. There were rumors that Nicolas married Lisa only because he was a fan of Elvis Presley.
It only offends him. Was I a lesser celebrity? He always comments. For him, marriage to Lisa was based on humor. They laughed a lot, and for a period of time, they felt good. We had a lot of laughs together, so that's what that was. Much was made about it because of her father and whatnot, but we had a simple relationship in my opinion. That was a different time in my life, many lifetimes ago.
I married Lisa Marie Presley only because I was in love with her and wanted to have a family with her. Her legendary father had nothing to do with it. Of course, like millions of other people, I like the songs performed by Elvis Presley, but I have never been his fan. I have not bought things belonging to him at auctions and have not behaved like a real fan. In 2003, Cage appeared in Ridley Scott's Matchstick Men, based on the book of the same name by Eric Garcia. The film, which received very positive reviews from critics, unfortunately hardly recouped at the box office. National Treasure, released a year later, turned out to be quite an interesting film about a treasure hunt. Although critics did not delight the creators with high ratings, the phrase of the main character of the film, Ben Gates, became a meme.
I'm gonna steal the Declaration of Independence.
Creating such a twisted plot was a very difficult process. According to some rumors, it took 5 screenwriters to finish the story. According to others, there were as many as 9. The original version of the film lasted about 4 hours. Interestingly, the film's director, John Turteltaub, was familiar with Nicolas Cage well for a long time. They attended the same high school in the 1970s and even participated in school plays together. There are many symbolic details in the film that do not immediately catch the eye. For example, the actors Ben, Patrick, and John Gates were named after the founding fathers. And the name of Diane Kruger's heroine, Abigail Chase, is a combination of names Abigail Adams, the wife of John Adams, and Samuel Chase, who signed the Declaration of Independence. Although initially the creators did not plan a sequel, the popularity of the film changed their minds. Already in 2007, the second part premiered. It became the first sequel in Cage's career. I avoided sequels in every possible way, simply because I didn't really like repeating myself before. But in this case, it seemed to me that each episode was a new adventure with new possibilities, something like a historical detective. By the way, Cage at some point became interested in history and solving puzzles himself. For some time, he was quite seriously engaged in the search for the Holy Grail. The research led him to Rhode Island, which he found so beautiful that he purchased real estate there.
Gradually, his work, like Cage himself, began to be overgrown with memes from fans and not-so-fans alike. You couldn't help but meet the most popular ones online. The actor himself treats them with disapproval. I was moved by film performance more than any other art form. I didn't get into movies to become a meme. That was new. I made friends with it, but it was an adjustment, he claimed. But it is his memes that will lead to the fact that one day he will take his career to a new level.
After a series of high-profile affairs, Nicolas Cage did not appear in public with women at all for some time. The actor's friends even began to worry that he would start drinking or something worse, but Cage surprised everyone. One day, he met a Korean waitress at a sushi bar and a passionate romance began between them. No one took it seriously, but in 2004, the couple got married, and a year later, they had a son, Kal-El. They named him after Superman. It was Nicolas Cage's longest marriage, which ended after 12 years.
In 2005, Andrew Nicol's Lord of War was released, in which Cage played an illegal arms dealer.
Of all the weapons in the vast Soviet arsenal, nothing was more profitable than Automat Kalashnikova, model of 1947.
His character was based on the true stories of several arms dealers and smugglers. It was quite logical that a lot of weapons would be needed for a film about that. Usually, props were used in movies, however, not that time. Real Kalashnikov assault rifles were bought for the film. But that's not all. The real tanks that previously belonged to the Czech army and was intended for sale to Libya were used in the movie. The film crew had to warn NATO just in case, because in the event that they had recorded a large amount of military equipment from satellites, they would not decide that a war had begun. And that was not done at all to make the film more real. The creators just found that it would be cheaper to buy a real weapon, not a fake one. During the making of it, I needed guns in the Czech Republic, and it was cheaper to use real guns than replicas. I bought 3,000 Kalashnikovs and then sold them back at a loss. I wouldn't make a very good arms dealer. It didn't mean that Andrew Nicol was a fan of illegal gun culture. After filming, he destroyed several guns without wishing to resell them back into use. In addition, the film was officially approved by the Human Rights Corps Amnesty International for bringing to light the problem of illicit arms trafficking by the international military industry. Perhaps the Lord of War can be considered a milestone after which Cage's career rapidly headed downhill. At first, The Weatherman by Gore Verbinski failed at the box office. Although, in fairness, it must be said that many viewers liked that film, which couldn't be said for critics. Next, there was Oliver Stone's World Trade Center, which received relatively good ratings and a good box office. Later, an extremely unsuccessful remake of The Wicker Man of 1973 was released. Cage was nominated for the infamous Golden Raspberry for the role in that film. From that moment on, it became clear to everyone that something was clearly wrong with Cage's career. His star abruptly began to pale. In 2007, there was another box office failure in the form of the film Next. The movie Ghost Rider, based on comics about the character of the same name, was released following it. The development of the film began back in 1992. Johnny Depp and Eric Bana were proposed for the main role, but the process was delayed. Finally, in 2001, the situation became a little clearer, and Cage, a big fan of Ghost Rider, found out about the project. Cage was very close to that character because the actor grew up reading comics about Ghost Rider, and he always loved how cool that character looked.
He's special. He's a little deeper, a little more interesting than the big three, which for me would be Batman, Superman, Spider-Man. And those characters need no introduction, but this one does. And the good news is that I was able to introduce him to you as a movie-going audience and sort of build him from scratch.
Of course, Cage wanted to participate in other filming processes, so he participated in writing the script, although that was not mentioned in the credits. Cage also demanded that Ghost Rider look more realistic in post-production, and the producers had to significantly increase the cost of production. Sound engineers recorded the regular voice of Nicolas Cage, changed it, and mixed it with the crackling sound of flames, the howling of wild animals, the scraping of chains, and other creepy sounds to create the rumbling voice of Ghost Rider.
Nice jacket.
According to the director, the trailers of the film do not express all the richness of this sound, but in the cinema multi-channel version of the soundtrack, the voice sounds really intimidating. There were rumors that Cage's torso in the film was created by computer graphics, but the actor denied that. It seems that such assumptions even offended him a little.
In Ghost Rider, Nicolas Cage's abs are real, they are real, and that's why I will never work out that hard again, because nobody wanted to believe they were real. They wanted them to believe it was CGI, which it wasn't. So what's the point?
Although the film received negative critics' reviews, it had excellent box office results. That's why a few years later, a sequel was released. The second part of Ghost Rider received even worse reviews than its predecessor. Some viewers even suggested adding it to the list of the worst films ever made. Cage was nominated for the Golden Raspberry Anti Award for this role in the first and second parts of that film. Nicolas didn't lose the fans' love due to his unsuccessful projects, and sometimes that love bordered on natural madness. One day, a man named Robert Furrow broke into Nicolas Cage's house at night, where he, his wife, and son were sleeping peacefully. The owner of the house, suddenly waking up, found a naked man sitting next to him by the bed with an Edie's pie in his hand. The unknown man was wearing only a leather jacket of the apartment's owner. The actor called security and asked the uninvited guest to return the jacket. Soon, the crazy fan was peacefully let out through the backyard and taken to the police. Cage fans are generally very creative guys. They invented caging out of great love for the actor.
An honor.
Nick, did you know about caging?
No. You understand this is enormously surreal for me. This is why I dress like this. I'm ready. I'm strong. I can do this.
For those who did not know, caging is a prank that means putting photographs of Nicolas Cage in someone else's room or two things without the knowledge or consent of replacing someone else's wallpaper and gadgets with Cage's photo, and so on. The year 2008 was marked by a global crisis. Large enterprises failed. Businessmen declared themselves bankrupt. Among the unfortunate ones who were hit by the crisis was Nicolas Cage. It turned out that in the wake of success, Cage did not notice how he spent his entire fortune, which was estimated at $150 million. The actor bought luxury mansions, yachts at crazy prices, luxury cars, and spent on various antiques without thinking about the consequences. Once, Cage bought a whole castle in New Orleans that belonged to the slave tormentor Madame Lalaurie. It was rumored to be haunted. I was going to write a great horror novel inspired by Stephen King and Lovecraft. He explained his purchase. But the purchase of a large amount of expensive real estate was also explained by its purely practical significance. I had to put the money somewhere, and I was a big believer in real estate, and I got caught up in that bubble that exploded. I thought it was real. I didn't trust stocks, and I didn't trust just leaving it in the bank. I believed in real estate, so now I'm working through all that, he said years later. In addition, the actor raised a menagerie at home. He bought a shark, an octopus, and even a crocodile. At one of the auctions, Cage bought a dinosaur skull for $276,000, but the relic turned out to be stolen and had to be sent to the Museum of Mongolia. The actor also spent money on dried heads of African pygmies and a meteorite. There was even a two-headed snake on this list, which he later gave to the zoo. The reason for its purchase was also unusual. When asked why he needed all this, Cage could not answer clearly. There are good and bad investments. The good ones are when I buy something related to my hobbies or to the history of the world, which is very interesting to me. For example, this is the first Superman comic that I bought for $150,000, he said. At the same time, such a hobby has led to a lot of interesting stories. So on The Letterman Show, the actor admitted that his pet cobras wanted to kill him, and the domestic cat became a companion for eating unusual mushrooms. At the same time, Nicolas himself declares that he is against the use of substances that cause addiction. I don't do drugs. I don't drink when I work. Sometimes in between movies, I'll have some drinks, but not always. I make so many characters, and I go so internal with them that sometimes when I'm not filming, wine or champagne is like an eraser to a chalkboard. You can erase the character and make a clean slate so you can start making a new character. I hope that makes sense. He explains his position. At various periods, some of the luxury items purchased by the actor were stolen, and most of his houses were devalued due to the crisis of 2008. Later, it turned out that he owed the tax service about $6 million and blamed his manager for all his troubles. The manager filed a counterclaim accusing the actor of compulsive and self-destructive spending. As a result, the actor, accustomed to living high on the hog, had to turn to friends for financial help. Cage finally lost heart by the news of the death of his father, with whom the actor had a good relationship. The artist was devastated, both financially and emotionally. But one thing I wasn't going to do was file for bankruptcy. I had this pride thing where I wanted to work my way through anything, which was both good and bad. Not all the movies have been blue chip, but I've been getting closer to my instrument. And maybe there's been more supply than demand, but on the other hand, I'm a better man when I'm working. The movie star had to sell the property and agree to play any roles. That could explain the enormous number of bad films in which he would star in the next 10 years. The actor does not hide and honestly admits in an interview that the financial factor was often decisive when choosing a film. But even so, he tried to put all his strength and talent into any project. But it turned out differently. But one thing I wasn't going to do was file for bankruptcy. I had this pride thing where I wanted to work my way through anything, which was both good and bad, Nicolas said.
Knowing of 2009 even paid off at the box office, unlike The Bad Lieutenant, Port of Call, New Orleans that followed it. The transition period ended with the film Kick-Ass, where Nicolas played a rather interesting role of Hit Girl's father. And next, there was a series of films which were rather watchable but not serious for a star at that level. Tokarev, Dying of the Light, The Runner, Pay the Ghost, Arsenal, and many others increasingly trampled Cage's reputation into the ground. Nevertheless, the actor assured that even in the most difficult situation, he tried not to choose very bad projects. I tried to give my best even when I was shooting 4 films a year. Not all of them turned out good, but I've always worked hard. If someone thought that I was just playing the role soullessly, then it wasn't so. I really did care. In 2010, the fantasy The Sorcerer's Apprentice was released. Although it is difficult to call a bright representative of the genre, in general, it turned out to be tolerable and had a good box office. In 2011, Cage was nominated for the Golden Raspberry again for his role in Seeking Justice. In the next few years, he would have a whole collection of nominations for that anti-award for roles in the films Snowden, Left Behind, and Drive Angry.
It is unknown whether the failures affected the actor's morale, but in the same year, the media was shocked by another news. The famous Hollywood actor was again taken to the police station. Cage was arrested after he went on a rampage in the street while intoxicated, shouting at his wife and hit the surrounding cars. The actor was charged with domestic violence and violation of civil order, taken into custody, but the actor's wife, Alice Kim, posted bail for him. Despite a long-term relationship, the couple broke up. According to one rumor, the wife cheated on the actor. According to others, his alcohol abuse was to blame for everything. It was a shocker for me. The ghostwriter star told the Guardian outlet of their split in 2016. I definitely did not see it coming. Such incidents created an image of a rake and a lover of adventure around the actor. Nicolas himself claimed that during this period he began to be interested in the philosophy and methodology of contemplation. He was no longer interested in the red carpet. He was tired of selling himself. Career, as such, also has ceased to matter. The most important thing for the actor was to work, because he is sure that work makes him better. I developed this mantra, which is, I never had a career, I only have work. And when I say that, I am saying that I'm a better man than when I'm working, because I don't want to be that guy that's sitting by a pool getting bombed on Mai Tais and Dom Perignon. Nicolas explains, I have been that guy in between jobs, and it's only fun maybe for 2 days, and then you're like, I gotta get healthy. Since that period, he gets up at 5 in the morning, plays sports, watches the news, calls his boys, and works. It is very important for Cage to lead a clean and honest life during filming, although this does not explain the periodic breakdowns.
The thriller The Frozen Ground of 2013 received generally negative reviews. However, many critics agreed that Cage's charisma saved the whole film. Here's what they wrote about it on the Rotten Tomatoes website. Though this by-the-numbers true procedural seems basic, The Frozen Ground presents a welcome return for Nicolas Cage in a solid performance. In the same year, the independent crime drama film Joe was released. The plot was about a former gangster who hired a 15-year-old boy and protected him from an abusive father. The film took part in the competition program of the Venice Film Festival, where it received critical acclaim, which highlighted the direction of David Gordon Green and the acting of Ty Sheridan. Cage's work also attracted attention. The Rotten Tomatoes consensus reads, rich in atmosphere and anchored by a powerful performance from Nicolas Cage, Joe is a satisfying return to form for its star. Positive reviews of some of Cage's works proved that the actor had not lost neither talent nor skill, and it gave hope that fans just needed to wait for their idol to improve his financial situation. In 2018, an action movie with horror elements, Mandy, was released. Cage appeared there in the role of a grieving woodcutter in the forest who had lost everything he loved and wanted revenge. Mandy stood out clearly against the previous projects in which Nicolas had participated.
Then there was a muscle. It didn't make any sense. They were bikers and
gnarly psychos and...
That insane film, which was reminiscent of a nightmare, caused heated debate and received good reviews. It was praised for his style and originality, Cage's acting, directing, and fight scenes. That project was clearly not one of those in which Cage starred only for the sake of earning money. He really wanted to play that character because he knew how it feels to lose love and knew that he could express the full range of feelings of his hero.
And also my father had passed away, and that really stuck with me. And so I knew I had the emotional content to play Red, because Red is really a being who's contending with loss of...
Thrillist website named Mandy the best Nicolas Cage film in recent years. Other websites also praised the actor, calling the picture a combination of Mad Max and the Iron Man competition. Nick Allen from RogerEbert.com said the following about Cage's game. For all of the endless feral performances that Cage has given, in movies good, bad, and forgettable, Cosmatos' style-driven, 80s-tastic passion for weird worlds and characters takes full advantage of Cage's greatness and then some. In the same year, an extremely successful project with Cage's participation was released. It was the animated film Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. The actor voiced Spider-Man Noir. Well, it was a good casting, considering that Cage is a fan of The Friendly Neighbor.
Can you close off your feelings so you don't get crippled by the moral ambiguity of your violent actions? I imagine he's probably a fan of the old Bogey movies and Cagney movies, because that's all part of that dimension. At least that's how I like to portray the character.
Cage generally quite often voices cartoons. The actor's voice was also spoken by cartoon characters the Ant Bully, G-Force, Astro Boy, and the Croods. In 2019, the actor surprised everyone when he married his girlfriend Erika Kyoki and filed for divorce 4 days later. It turned out that at that time of the marriage, he was so drunk that he did not understand what was happening. "2021 was an important year for Nicolas. On February 16th, he married for the 5th time to his girlfriend Riko Shibata. I know 5 is a lot, but I think I got it right this time. In the autumn of 2022, his wife gave birth to his daughter, which the actor is very happy about. My boys are all grown up, and I miss going to the toy store. I miss singing lullabies and rocking in the rocking chair. I'm looking forward to getting back to that, he said. Despite a certain eccentricity of his career, Nicolas is called a very devoted family man. So, actress Minnie Driver said that Cage once bought a seat on a plane for an imaginary friend of his son. According to the actor, his family comes first for him. First and foremost, there's no version of Nick Cage in reality that doesn't want to spend time with his children, he told People, while discussing the fictionalized version of himself that he plays in The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. There's no version of Nick Cage that didn't put family first over career. I turned down Lord of the Rings and I turned down The Matrix because I didn't want to go to New Zealand for 3 years or Australia for 3 years because I needed to be home with my son Weston. That's a fact. The actor's eldest son, Weston, followed in his father's creative footsteps and even starred in some of his films. It was Cage who introduced his son to all the intricacies of screenwriting. According to Weston, it was his father who gave him the best acting advice, to use his imagination. Cage's eldest son spent his childhood in the presence of famous friends of the star, Jim Carrey, Carrie Ells, and others, and also flew with him around the world on set. Talking about him, the Hollywood star admires his son's talents. He can do things I dream about doing: compose music, sing, act, sculpt, and cook, and now he's a loving father, he said. Weston also admitted that he hopes to star in the same show together. I would really love to be in a TV series with my father. That's something we've always liked to do together, he said in an interview. However, the eldest son took over not only the positive aspects of his father. So in 2017, he was arrested for drunk driving, and in the past, he abused substances. Despite this, Nicolas is very supportive of his son on the path to sobriety, as Weston himself stated more than once in an interview. Kal-El, the youngest son, also tried his hand at the film industry by voicing the character of a young Bruce Wayne in the 2018 film Teen Titans Go. In addition, he is often present during Nicolas's work on the set. As for Nicolas's daughter, she was named August Francesca Coppola Cage.
She is still too young to talk about how their relationship turned out, but the actor said that he was very excited and inspired by the new role of the girl's father. "It's going to be the biggest adventure of my life, so here we go," he said on The Kelly Clarkson Show. And though he wasn't offered much information about baby August since then, he told Entertainment Tonight at the end of March that the little girl has musical talent. "She's singing really good songs. Her first song, I was very happy about it, naturally. It was about me," Nicolas recounted. "She went da da da, unja unja. I thought it was a great song. I'm going to steal it and I'm going to get rich off my daughter's song." In 2021, the film Pig was released, which brought Cage the best reviews in recent years, reviving interest in the actor from both the audience and the studios. Cage played the role of an emotionally burnt-out star chef with a tragic past who had his beloved pig stolen from him. Cage said he accepted the role because of the excellent script.
In a more profound way, having been through what we've been through with what we've all gone through with this pandemic and quarantine, is that our relationships with our animal friends, our animal brothers and sisters, became even more meaningful. But my connection with my cat was always there. And I had other animals, and I don't want to go there because I did experience what you're talking about with the grief of losing an animal that I was very close to. And so that...
Both the script and Cage's game received highly positive reviews by critics. The film won the Independent Spirit Award for Best First Screenplay, and Cage got a second nomination for the Critics' Choice Award for Best Actor. That project and several previous successful ones made it clear to the film community that Nicolas Cage is ready to return to the big leagues, and he still has something to say to the world. But there was also a scandal. A video leaked online of a drunken actor being kicked out of a restaurant mistaken for a homeless man. In general, in recent years, the actor prefers to show himself less in public. He is attracted by the image of the stars of the golden era, when the artist was something unattainable and not fully revealed to the whole world around him. But in the context of ubiquitous gadgets and social media, this approach has taken on a new meaning. In order to preserve some of the privacy, you have to shut yourself off from the world. Therefore, the best pastime for Cage right now is reading books and watching movies. I don't think I can decompress ever again, even at a karaoke bar. It's too vulnerable. I'm not trying to complain. It's a fact of life that I have to accept. I'd much rather let my work and not my personal life speak for me. Rob Zombie once said to me, "Be as normal in your own life as you can be, so you can be as messed up as you want in your art." By old standards, he now lives quite modestly in a Los Angeles cottage. And I enjoy it that way, the magic of the green hills and the trees and the history. And then I have this other small lifestyle in Las Vegas, which is a different kind of magic. That's the razzle-dazzle of the city. My wife loves it and we have good friends there. And that's it. That's my life, which is simple. And I want to keep it that way. Well, you know, how modest it is. This is exactly what you'd imagine about Nicolas Cage's house. It's partly a Gothic cathedral, partly an avant-garde gallery. In the living room, there is an African crow and Maine Coon, a cat that is able to scare off a robber. On March 12, 2022, the world premiere of the film The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent was at South by Southwest. It was a comedy about actor Nicolas Cage, who is trying to save his career at all costs. Initially, the actor did not plan to accept the role, but when he first got acquainted with the script, he was even slightly offended. But then the director of the picture, Tom Gormican, wrote him a letter that changed his attitude to the movie. Then I thought, okay, he's not just trying to mock so-called Nick Cage. There's a real interest in some of the earlier work, the actor explained. Besides, there was another reason to agree. Cage was buried in debt, and he agreed to perform at the birthday party of a Mexican billionaire who turns out to be a drug lord to get out of the situation. Critics were delighted with the film. In their opinion, this is the best picture in Cage's career for a very long time. In fact, the true subject of Unbearable Gravity is the magic of cinema. It's about how an actor like Cage can mean so much to us, because in the very extremity of his flamboyance, he's acting out something that means so much to him. He's not suffering for his art, but he's doing what may be the next best thing, showing off for it, wrote Owen Gleiberman, film critic for Variety. Prior to the film's wide release, The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent received 100% positive reviews on Rotten Tomatoes and 78 points on Metacritic. I was very trepidatious to do it because I'm playing two heightened versions of myself. But then I realized everything that's happened to me led up to this movie. Whether I was hot or cold, up or down, there's an arc to the story. The only thing the actor didn't like about his role at all was his character's attitude towards his family. I always put my family first, and I have turned down some enormous opportunities as a result of that, he said. A version of Nick Cage that doesn't want to spend time with his kid doesn't exist. Cage was also confused by the amount of profanity he had to use. The director replied that it would be better for the image. He said, "Neurotic Nick Cage is the best Nick Cage. I have a lot of quiet moments at home with just my cat reading. Do we want to show any of that? No, because it's not fun," Nicolas explained. But these are essentially small things against the background of the rest. For the first time in a long time, the heads of major Hollywood studios looked at the actor again. There was hope that Nicolas would restart his career. Interestingly, it was the work on that picture that allowed Cage to finally pay off his debts. Now he is free to choose only those projects that he likes. In general, the actor plans to approach the choice of the role with great attention and work on each next film as if it is his last. A little more restrained and modest was the fatalistic western Butcher's Crossing by Gabe Polsky. Despite being positively reviewed at the Toronto International Festival, it remained only a local project. At the same time, Nicolas's performance and his image of a tough, obsessed buffalo hunter were highly appreciated by critics. It was hardly a role for the sake of earning money. Cage tried to approach a more personal way of performing, where there is less acting as such and more portrayal of him as he really is. The year 2023 was particularly productive in the actor's career. As many as 6 projects with his participation were released on the screens. However, it is very difficult to call them successful at their core. Appearing in different genres, the actor seems to be trying to find a new, successful path for himself. This is both Brett Donahue's dramatic western The Old Way and Chris McKay's comedy horror film Renfield, which is a reinterpretation of the famous story about Dracula. Yes, Nicolas Cage presents us with the image of the bloodiest count. And there was the modest black comedy Dream Scenario, in which Cage had a role of a clumsy professor whose dream of becoming a celebrity unexpectedly became a reality. Despite the fees of $6 million, the actor was awarded a Golden Globe nomination for his role in the Best Actor, Comedy or Musical category, which is not bad considering the last decades of his career. "I officially declare that I consider this a masterpiece," he said. By the way, it was Dream Scenario that became a way for the actor to ironically look at his role as the heroes of memes, which he has been so many years, and also to reveal himself and his inner feelings to the audience through the image of cinema. "I wanted Dream Scenario to provide a performance experience where people felt that they were in on a secret with me, something personal. My own personal life experience was channeled through the vessel of Paul Matthews." Nicolas received equally good reviews for his participation in the psychological thriller Sympathy for the Devil, where he shared the main role with Joel Kinnaman. Jordan Mincer of The Hollywood Reporter noted that Nicolas Cage chews up every scene he's in and seems to be having a blast. He's always over the top and never boring to watch, in a film that delivers the goods for those who like him best when he's just about to lose his mind. But the picture remained local and in fact did not become famous. There was some hope for the acclaimed superhero film The Flash, directed by Andy Muschietti. Many hopes were pinned on it, largely due to the rising star Ezra Miller. In it, the actor got only a cameo role as an alternate version of Superman. The film was considered key to the future plans for the DC Extended Universe and was well received at test screenings. And this is taking into account all the production hell that this project went through at the development stage and the scandal around Miller. For Cage himself, the role of Superman could be an impetus for development in superheroics, and possibly the creation of offshoots with his participation. Especially considering that initially his participation in the role of Superman under the leadership of Tim Burton never saw the light. However, the picture failed and became one of the biggest box office failures for Warner Brothers, whose losses were estimated at $200 million. After the release of the film, it also turned out that Cage was used in some way, without going into much detail about how his image would look in the final result. The fact is that during the production of the film, the scenes with the actor were created using volumetric capture and computer graphics. However, in an interview with Yahoo Entertainment, Cage said that he was surprised by how his appearance was used in The Flash. After all, initially, his character was supposed to just stand and watch the universe collapse. There was no question of any battle with a giant spider. The spider scene, according to some assumptions, was a reference to the collapse of Burton's film,
which did not work out both for the director and Cage.
In any case, the actor isn't definitely going to retire. I'm healthier when I'm working. I need a positive place to express my life experience, and filmmaking has given me that. So I'm never going to retire. Where are we now, 117 movies? We can say that for the first time in many years in the life of Nicolas Cage, everything is fine.
This year, we are waiting for 3 new films with the actor's participation where he got the main roles. These are Ben Brewer's horror Arcadian and 2 psychological thrillers, Osgood Perkins' Longlegs and Lorcan Finnegan's The Surfer. At the same time, in Longlegs, we will see an actor in the role of a really bad guy, a serial killer, as can be inferred from the first thriller. After a clever marketing move, the release of a creepy video that is designed to erase the line in viewers' perception between fiction and reality, the excitement around Perkins' project is huge. But Nicolas Cage will probably still surprise us yet. In a recent interview with Vanity Fair, he suddenly announced that he was going to radically change his career. And he is going to stop with a big movie, claiming that he still has 3 or 4 more films left. "I do believe I've said what I've had to say with cinema," he says. "I think I took film performance as far as I could." Rethinking his career, the actor decided it was better to say goodbye on a high note. Age was partly the reason for this. "I was taking stock of how much time I had left. I thought, okay, my dad died at 75. I'm going to be turning 60. If I'm lucky, I have maybe a good 15 years and hopefully more. What do I want to do with those 15 years using my father as the model? It occurred very clearly to me that I want to spend time with my family," he said. And what's next? He definitely has a plan. His statements do not mean that the star will finish acting. Nicolas Cage is going to expand his boundaries of acting and explore the limits of possibilities of the screen. Who knows? Maybe we'll see him on TV soon. I don't know. I have to look for the next step, and I haven't found it yet. Despite all the obstacles, ups and downs, the artist proved that he can rise from the ashes and surprise his audience. He also proved that you need to be yourself to get recognition, and there is always a chance for a new beginning. And we will follow the new successes of your favorite stars and share them with you. Click on the video that appeared on your screen to learn more about the life of another famous actor. There was a biographer with you. Bye-bye.